So hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. This webinar is a part of our professional communication course, which is supervised by Dr. Abdelrahim Agnaou. The topic of this webinar will be about safety in the workplace. First of all, I will be the moderator of this webinar. My name is Omar Regas and I'm majoring in international studies. Now I will be introducing the panel. We have with us Umaima Al-Bakouri, which is also majoring in international relations. We have Mahal Qabaqbi, which is also majoring in international relations. Hala Fertat, majoring in business administration. Shayma Rashid, majoring in business administration. And last but not least, Iman Khalba, which is majoring in human resource development. So concerning the outline of this webinar, we will be first beginning by general introduction, which will be presented by Umaima. Then we chose to cover two fields within the concerning safety in the workplace. The first one is safety in construction sites, which will be covered by Iman and Shayma. The second field is safety in aviation, which will be covered by Hala and Baha. Then we will conclude our webinar, and at the end we will open the discussion as we consist some time to the questions and answers part. Umaima, you have the floor to give our audience an introduction about our topic.
So hello everyone. First, I will start by a brief definition of workplace safety. According to the website tutorialspoint.com, workplace safety is a composite field related to safety, health, and welfare of people at work, and it narrates the strategy and methods in place to ensure health and safety of employees within the workplace. In addition, workplace safety mainly focuses on all what is about stopping abuse, injury, disorder, or any kind of negative aspect that causes any bad vibe or threaten the employees during their work time period. Objectives in the workplace are numerous, but I will try to set the most important ones. First, workplace seeks to enhance and improve the workability of employees by providing them a safe and a convenient work environment. Also, when the environment that we are as employees is safe, we can guarantee that the motivation and the productivity will reach its highest level. Furthermore, the basic aim of safety measures in preventing the risk and the threats that mainly causes the loss of lives. Finally, a secure environment will only have a great impact on the organizational level that remains free from threats and mistakes. Now I will give again the floor to my teammate.
Now we will be watching a short video to give a better idea and show some statistics about safety in the workplace in general.
On average, 75 people a year are killed working on construction sites. 33 fall from a height. 12 are struck by an object. 7 are run over. 7 more die after a structure collapses. in a number of ways. This film explains the procedures we've put in place to protect everyone who works on our sites. We all have a responsibility to ensure a safe working space. We continually review our procedures, and we've looked closely at the way we induct you on site. This has resulted in a new induction process. Your induction will consist of this short film and a more detailed look at your area of works if appropriate. You will then have a personal presentation from the site building manager, who will give a site-specific induction covering such things as the emergency procedures and key personnel. Once you've been inducted, you'll get a color-coded sticker, which means you won't have to watch this film over and over and over again.
So after watching this short video, I will leave the floor to Shema to introduce you to the first field of the topic of safety, which she will cover safety within construction sites. Shema, you have the floor.
So, hello everyone. Iman and I will invite construction site safety is very important for accidents could happen that might be a threat to your life. So they need to know some tips to avoid accidents as much as they can. The first tip that I will be talking about is awareness. Every worker needs to be aware of all the dangers that may happen in the construction site. According to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the type of risks that occur in the construction sites are falling from heights, trench collapse, scaffold collapse, electric shock and arc flash, failure to use proper personal protective equipment, and the last one is repetitive motion injuries. The manager has to talk and explain to his workers what they should do to avoid those accidents in the construction sites. The second tip I will be talking about is using signs in the construction sites. In every construction site, there should be signs and posters all over the sites, which contains useful instructions to inform workers about common mistakes that might happen, like falling objects, chemicals, or gas. The third tip that I will be talking about is that workers should never use damaged equipment. Sometimes the workers need to finish their work as soon as possible, so they use any available equipment, even if this equipment is damaged. Using damaged equipment is a bad idea because it can aim to many troubles and injuries that could have been avoided. And finally, the last tip that I will be talking about is that every construction site should have an updated aid kit. In today's world, everything can happen in the workplace. You could get injured or cut. You could faint due to lack of sleep or extensive work. That's why you need to have an updated aid kit to help the person in one of those bad situations. According to a website called Let's Build, this aid kit should include disinfectants, ointments, painkillers, and bandages, and gauze of all sizes. And this should be updated every 2 years. And now I will give the floor to my teammate Iman.
Hello everyone. So next we have communication. According to ESAP construction software, as you may all know, communication is very important in every field, especially in the construction field. Workers need to be informed about the tasks and the dangers that are occurring on the site. To make this communication smooth as much as possible, workers need to be equipped with the proper communication devices. As a result, the workers can avoid many dangers and they can do the work quickly. So next we have, for the next step, for the next step is that workers need to wear the protective equipment. According to nearby engineers' website, construction workers must wear the appropriate equipment to protect themselves from any danger. So the protective equipment that workers must use are the following: eye and face protection, foot protection, hand protection, head protection, and finally, hearing protection. Last but not least, as we may all know, safety in this environment is a vital thing. So according to ESAB construction software site, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration and other organizations offer many trainings for workers, like on-site trainings, videos, etc., to show them security practices and safety measures. For instance, they show them the correct way to use a ladder, how they can protect themselves from falling, and also what to do if an accident happened. So by doing these trainings, workers can protect themselves from injuries. So to conclude, if workers follow these steps, the tips mentioned before, I can ensure that the construction site will be a safe place to be. By the way, these are just a few suggestions for construction site safety. There are many more. However, I will leave you with a short video showing 10 simple safety rules in the construction sites. Some of them were already mentioned by me and my teammate Shaima, and some of them were not. Thank you.
So now we will be watching a short video, as Iman just said, about the safety within construction sites. And I'm going to leave you with the video. So now after watching this short video and covering the part of safety within the construction sites workplace, we will be moving to another field where safety is very important, which is safety within aviation field. So now I'm going to give the floor to Maha to introduce you to this field and give you some tips. Maha, you have the floor.
Thank you, Omar. And thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar tonight. As it was already mentioned by my teammates, safety is an important aspect that is required to be present in every workplace, no matter its nature. It is even more complex when it comes to working with big engines such as planes. Safety in aviation is divided into two major parts. First one I'll be covering is the pre-flight section. My colleague Hala is going to target the on-flight section. As a mechanical engineer on the plane, you should first check the most basic thing, which is fuel. Is it going to be enough for the whole flight time or more? Does it have enough in the tank in case of an emergency detour? You never know what may happen up there. Then check in all the airplane's engines and wings. If one of them has a minor issue, the flight is automatically cancelled. After all, you can't risk both your life and the passenger's life. Then again, check the airplane's backup equipment. Do not only concentrate on the normally used ones. In case of an emergency, you should have your backup equipment. Second part is as a pilot. As a pilot, you need to check the weather forecast for possible turbulences you might encounter. At least you will be mentally prepared for them. If any big weather issues is up your way, again, you should cancel your flight. Practice your emergency procedures and check your backup tools also. This is a work that's combined both the pilot and the mechanical engineer. They should both look for the backup equipment if they're working or not. Again, communicate with the air traffic control. Let them know of your destination, time of departure, and estimated time of arrival. Give them your plane's coordinates. In case something happens, they would find it easy to locate your plane. Finally, make sure that you know the conditions of the airport you're landing in. Landing in an unknown airport for a pilot under bad weather conditions can be very hard. To impossible. Now I will leave you with Hala, my teammate, to, as I said, target the on-flight section. Thank you.
Hala, you have the floor. You can cover your part.
Thank you, Omar. So for the safety in aviation, unfortunately, many airline workers are not aware of the dangers that they may face while they are in their workplace. So today I'm gonna share with you some tips that they may adopt in order to prevent themselves. So first of all, I will start with the full safety. For safety, airline workers often used to traverse between the aircraft to the gateway. So the risk of falling is high. Therefore, the fall should be dry in order to prevent themselves to not fall. The second tip is protective safety. Protective safety means that airline workers often travel to foreign countries where many illnesses are present. Therefore, they may use some vaccination in order to protect themselves since they will interact with passengers who are sick. Another tip is health risk. We mean by health risk is airline workers should use gloves in order to prevent themselves, especially if they are serving hot food to their passengers or if they are preparing hot food to their passengers. So they should use gloves to prevent themselves from burning. Another tip is communication and transmission. Communication and transmission means that airline workers must be provided with ongoing communication about safety practices and safety tips. Another tip is training and practices. Airline workers must do some practices such as stretching exercises in order to prevent themselves. Another tip is that pilots should not rely only on GPS, and a pre-checklist is important before each shift. Thank you.
Now, after covering all of these parts, we will be moving to the conclusions parts, which will be covered by Umaima. Umaima, you have the floor.
So after all these important tips and advices given by my teammates, I will finally conclude that according to the website capacityplus.org, occupational safety and health should not be sidelined as a service delivery issue. Furthermore, for job satisfaction and best motivational atmosphere, the healthcare and safety creating only productivity, we should, as a new generation, to be aware of our safety in the workplace and our health, and we should follow the tips and show them to other people. Thank you for your attention.
So now we would like to open the discussion with our audience, and I see that we have some questions here. So first question is by Badar Azzouzi. The question is, would you say that is it up to the HR department within the company to develop and establish safety plan for emergencies, or is it the job of another department? Guys, you have the floor. Who wants to answer this question?
Can I?
Of course, Maha, go ahead.
I think that the HR department is really responsible for establishing and organizing safety trainings for their workers.
So that was your answer. You don't have anything else to add. So, Badr, I hope Maha had answered you. So now we're going to take another question. We have a question from Toya Al-Murabit. Iman, the question is to Iman, for Iman. Iman, can you please give us an example for each protective equipment that workers use? You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. As I already mentioned, we have eye and face protection. So the example that I will give is safety glasses. For foot protection, I will say shoes or boots with slip. What else? Yeah, for the hand protection, I would suggest gloves. For the head protection, I will say hard hats when there is a potential for objects falling from above. And for the hearing protection, I will say earplugs in high nose work areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Iman. Tuya, I hope Iman got covered all of the answers to your questions. Now we're going to move to another question. So we have a question from Muhammad Abul Qasim. The question says, what causes a trench to collapse? You have the floor. Who wants to answer this question?
So I can answer about it. According to some researchers, I found that a trench collapse happens for a number of reasons. Sometimes soil around the trench is either dry or made of material that doesn't naturally hold together well, can lead to an unexpected collapse. The wet weather and the vibration from nearby construction equipment can also cause the collapse. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheima. So now we're going to move to another question. We have a question from Shushu. The question is for Hala. What is the most important tip for you, Hala?
All the tips are important, but for me, the main tip is preventive protection, because airline workers should do some vaccination to prevent themselves, since they interact with passengers who are sick, and they may go to foreign countries that a lot of illnesses may be. So for me, the best tip is preventive protection.
Thank you, Hala. Now we're going to see if we have some other questions from the audience. I think we have a question here from Wiam Alami. The question is, how could we aware our generation of these tips? I think the question is for you, Hala, since you.
Yes, of course, we should aware our generation for how to be safe, because many workers in general focus only on their work, but they tend to forget how they should prevent themselves. So we should always aware generations with these tips.
Hala, I think there was a little glitch or something. We couldn't hear you so clearly. So can you repeat your answer?
Yes, of course. I think we can aware our generation of we can aware our generation, because these tips are very important and crucial, since many airline workers or workers in general tend to forget why they should prevent themselves. So in my opinion, we should and we are responsible of awareing workers of these tips.
So thank you so much for this answer. And let's see if we have some other questions from the audience. Thank you. So I think there are no other questions. If there aren't any questions, I think we can just conclude our webinar. Should we wait for the audience, or what do you think, guys?
I think we can move to the conclusion.
We will be moving to the conclusion, and if any question arises, we'll just answer it after that.
Okay, so we will be covering the conclusion. Maha, Umaima.
We already said that.
Okay. So, guys, if you have anything to add, feel free to intervene.
There is a question, I think.
Good explanation.
Alami said that she has a question.
Yes, I see that, but I think that she's still writing her question. So let's wait for Alami to ask her question, which I think will be the last question in this webinar. So the question is for Umaima. Since you mentioned the tips, what's the most important tip in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think communication is the most important tip because it will kind of prevent risks, and whenever there is communication, there is an, I mean, like the people concerned will be more understanding about the situation. So it will prevent risks and threats. That's what I think.
Omar, your mic is still muted.
I'm sorry. I hope I hope you answered. I hope Umaima had answered your question. Now let's see if we have some other questions from the audience. So I think there are no more questions from the audience. So in that, I would like to conclude our webinar and thank our panel for thank our panel for their interventions and for their tips. And I hope that that the audience had enjoyed our webinar. And thank you so much for everyone. Thank you for attending. I think we have one question here. Oh, two questions. Yeah, one is from Umaima BKL. So can any one of you guys tell us what is the tip that workers tend to neglect the most, if any?
I think they tend to forget the communication tip.
Yes.
I think.
So is there any other intervention for this question? So, okay. So if not, I think we have a question from Sufyan Talbi. He says that he has a question, but still, I think he's still writing. Sufyan Talbi, are you still interested in asking a question? So I think there will be no more questions. So I think this is the last part of our webinar. I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar, and I hope you enjoyed with us. I would like also to thank our panel, Hala, Sheima, Maha, Umema, and Iman. And oh, another time we have a question from, yeah, here it is. Sufyan Talbi. Sufyan Talbi says that sometimes the workers do not have evidence that he or she developed health issues while working. What would be the solution? Guys, feel free to.
I think that in this case, it's up to the HR department to investigate in the matter, and that's for them to decide whether he developed health issues while working or if he's just lying.
Okay, so Sufyan, I hope Maha answered your question. We have another question from Yunus Barish. Yunus Barish. He says that he has a question for Hala, but still, let's wait for him a little bit. Yunus Barish, are you still there? Do you still want to ask a question? Yunus Barish. So we have another question from Sufyan Talbi. What would be the best safety precautions for blue workers in India and the other poor countries? Guys, feel free to answer this question, whoever wants to answer.
Could you maybe explain what he means by blue workers? I'm not really familiar with the term.
Yes.
I think he wants to say blue-collar jobs. I think if I understood what he's trying to say, I think he's trying to talk about workers within construction sites and such.
I think the best safety precaution is communication. They must communicate with each other to prevent themselves, I think.
Sufyan, I think the second video that we watched in Iman's pods is answering your question. So it has some tips. So if you wanna, you can get back to that video, and I think it has the answer. So I think we have no more questions.
We're sorry we couldn't provide you with more information.
Okay, so Sufyan says thank you so much. Now I would like to end our webinar, and I would like to thank again our audience for attending and giving us from their time. And I would like to thank also the our panel, Hala, Shema, Maha, Umayma, and Iman. And I hope you enjoyed our webinar, and thank you so much. Thank you. Goodbye.